the most notorious breaking ball hitter, I might add, that I have ever caught behind.
And Willie Mays started off, of course, with the Giants in New York. And right now, let's go back to a lead-in for the President of the United States' message to Willie Mays.
Say, hey, Willie Mays, what a thrill it is for me to take part in this well-deserved recognition of your talents. I wish I could be there with you at Candlestick Park. But I know there are many millions of Americans just like me who are with you in spirit.
No self-respecting baseball fan will ever forget your daring base running,
The way you dominated center field, watching you make your waist-high basket catch time after time with your cap flying off your head. Of course, your home run record of 660 is legendary. Your fan club may be concentrated to San Francisco and New York, but its membership stretches all across this country. It includes some vintage baseball fans like myself who watched your spectacular career develop, as well as young people who still marvel about a real-life giant who excelled in every facet of the game. Very few players ever come to be known as you were, Willie, as a complete player. You could hit for power, hit for average, steal bases, field, and throw brilliantly. There was nothing you couldn't do, which has got me thinking that maybe we could use your help on some tough assignments here in Washington, like balancing the budget, for example. But you've given us enough already, Willie. You've been a hero for generations of Americans, a good and honest man who parlayed his talents from a backlot steel mill team in Alabama to the world-famous all-star in the National League. Do you remember your major league debut more than 30 years ago in Philadelphia? It wasn't your best game. I hope you don't mind if I tell folks you only had one hit in 26 times at bat. In frustration, you asked Giants manager Leo DeRocher to send you back to the minors. And DeRocher replied, "Tomorrow is another day. You're going to play center field for me tomorrow, and the day after that, and the day after that. So you better get used to the idea." Well, as history proves, you certainly did. Now, none of us will ever be used to seeing the great number 24 worn by anyone else. You're one of the finest right-handed hitters who ever played the game, Willie. And all of America joins with your former teammates today to salute you. God bless you, and thank you for a lifetime of inspiration.
The President of the United States, in his address to Willie Mays on Willie's Day, President Ronald Reagan. And as we go now, we're getting set for the start of the ball game. The Mets winning yesterday. And now in this ball game today, it'll be the Mets against the Giants in the second game of this three-game series.
And the lineup for the New York Mets today, leading off Danny Heap, the center fielder, in there for the injured Mookie Wilson. Hubie Brooks at third base, batting second. Keith Hernandez will bat third and play first base. George Foster, a big two-run home run in last night's game, a game in which the Mets won 7-6 in 10 innings. George will play left field and bat fourth. Darryl Strawberry also had a home run last night, and he'll bat fifth and play right field. Ron Hodges, with a game winner in last night's game, will bat sixth and catch. Brian Giles, the second baseman, batting seventh. Jose Oquendo, the shortstop, batting eighth. And Ed Lynch, with a record of 8 and 7, will be the pitcher and, of course, bat ninth. And for the San Francisco Giants, I was thinking of Willie Mays when I said that. Johnny LeMaster leading off and playing shortstop. Darrell Evans, the first baseman, batting second. Jack Clark will play right field and bat third. Jeff Leonard, the fine left fielder, batting fourth. Chili Davis, the switch hitter in center field, batting fifth. Joel Youngblood, the second baseman today, will bat sixth. Tom O'Malley, the fine young third baseman for the Giants, batting seventh. John Rabb, the catcher, batting eighth. And Fred Breining, B-R-E-I-N-I-N-G, with a 7-9 record, a 4.04 ERA, will be on the mound. And, of course, as I said, he will oppose Ed Lynch. Should be a great ball game after a marvelous pregame ceremony for Willie Mays. There's another great player right there in San Francisco history, Bobby Bonds, signing an autograph.
Bobby Bonds was to be the man who was going to replace Willie Mays, but no one could do that.
Nobody could fill those shoes or that shirt.
So Willie Mays, having his uniform retired here, officially retired. Actually, it's been retired since the day he left And the clubhouse boy is the fellow that does that, the man property manager of the ball club. He just won't issue that number to somebody. In fact, on the Mets, nobody will get number 41. He's already put that one aside.
You know, in thinking about these ceremonies, I think there were a lot of pertinent remarks made. I think the most pertinent was made by Al Michaels, the master of ceremonies, who did a superb job. He said that we're here to recognize and to honor a style today. And of all the players and of all the great players that I saw play and have read about, heard about, I don't think anybody had as inimitable a style as Willie Mays.
And he certainly will be remembered for the basket catches. Al Michaels started off by saying you remember Babe Ruth's number 3, but you remember his 60 home runs as the pertinent number. Joe DiMaggio's number 5, but you really think of 56, the 56 consecutive games that he hit in to set an all-time record. So, impressive ceremonies. And for the ball game, we're setting up for the defense of the Giants. It's Darrell Evans at first base. The second baseman, Joel Youngblood. At shortstop, Johnny LeMaster. At third base, Tom O'Malley. Out in left field, Jeff Leonard. Center fielder, Chili Davis. And the right fielder, Jack Clark. The catcher in this game, John Robb. And on the mound, it's Fred Brining with a record of 7-9. Brining is 1-0 against the Mets this year and 2-0 lifetime. So right here, Willie led the National League. Some more of his great stats. In home runs 4 times. In batting average. Slugging percentage. Stolen bases. He couldn't. The board isn't big enough up there, Tim, to put down all the things.
It's really not. The Say Hey Kid.
To bring you up to date on the standings, Philadelphia leading Pittsburgh by 1.5 games. Montreal by 3.5. St. Louis by 5.5. The Cubs by 10.5 and the Mets by 15. In the Western Division of the National League, Atlanta on top by 3.5 over the Dodgers. Houston 8 games out, San Diego 11 out, San Francisco 15, and Cincinnati 16.5. The umpires for this game today, Ed Montague behind home plate, Dutch Renner the umpire at first base, Lanny Harris the umpire at second, and Dick Stello the umpire at third. Mets and Giants have met 7 times. The Mets have won only 2, winning last night. Giants have hit a bad streak. They have lost 8 of their last 12, 12 of their last 18, and 19 of their last 30. And for the New York Mets, it'll be Danny Heap to lead off. Danny playing in center field. Mookie Wilson still not able to start. He is just about ready to come off the bench and start in the ball game, though, and it could be used here today for pinch hitting duties. Danny Heap hitting .266, 7 home runs, 19 runs batted in. And Fred Brining with the first pitch of the game. And he starts off and gets a strike with a sinking fastball.
Brining throws pretty hard. I'd say an 88-mile-an-hour fastball or so, but his out pitch is his forkball, and that was it.
Brining has had some problems. He had lost 5 straight before beating the Dodgers the other day, 7-3 in his last outing. He's been tough, though, in his last 5 games. The opposition, the team batting, has been 181. So Brining up there with his 2 strikeouts as he works to Danny Heap. Heap has batted only 2 times against the Giants this year. He's 0 for 2. And that ball was a forkball. Gets away from the catcher, John Robb, but he picks it up and throws the first to throw to complete the strikeout.
Did you see what happened there? John Robb could not get rid of his mask. He tried to get rid of it and almost ended up botching this play up. A forkball in the dirt, a nice play by Robb. Now watch him look for his mask. Now he tries to tag him. Now he flips his mask off. The first thing you want to do as a catcher is get rid of that mask because it can obscure your vision. John almost turned a routine play into a dazzler.
So the strikeout for the out, and Hubie Brooks the batter. Last ball, and it's ball 1. Brooks hitting .270. He has 5 home runs and 45 RBIs. Hubie 0 for 5 last night. And back with a fastball. 2 balls, no strikes. Brooks having trouble with the Giants pitching, batting at 143 for the year with only 4 base hits. There's a fastball, a call strike, 2 balls and 1.
I think that's the best strategy against a guy like Brining, is try to work yourself in a position where you're going to get the fastball. Because if this guy gets ahead of you, as he showed to Danny Heap, that forkball is vicious.
Back with a fastball and the count at 2-2. Brining has started 26 games with this one. He's had 3 complete games. And the pitch fouled off and back again with that forkball.
And more often than not, that forkball will be out of the strike zone, down preferably. He throws it harder than Bruce Sutter. Bruce Sutter's split finger fastball is almost a forkball for all intents and purposes.
And there's a fastball foul back. It's just a matter of semantics and terminology.
Right.
On deck batter for the Mets, Keith Hernandez. 1 man out. 2-2 count to Brooks, and now it's 3-2. So he'll be right here in a good spot to get a fastball. Three balls, 2 strikes. And he got the fastball and couldn't make contact. So Brining off to a fast start. He has struck out his first 2 batters.
Now, this ball probably out of the strike zone inside, and it ties up Hubie. And Brining striking out his 2nd batter in a row.
And he'll now pitch to Keith Hernandez. Hernandez hitting .282. He has 9 home runs, 52 runs batted in. The man is 2 for 4 against the Giants this year as a Met. He joined the Mets on June 15th after the Mets had completed playing the Giants the first time around. And a strike call for strike 1. Since the All-Star break, the Mets have won 19 and lost 21. And the count now at 1 ball and 1 strike. In the month of August, the Mets have won 10 and lost 6. Last year, they had a record of 5 victories and 24 losses in August. Quite a turnaround. And a foul ball. 1-2 the count. Keith Hernandez grew up here in the San Francisco area. His last year in school, he did not play on the team, which accounted for the fact he was drafted very late in the draft. And now they count at 2 balls and 2 strikes.
As a matter of fact, Fred Brining's from San Francisco, one of only 5 San Franciscans that have played on the Giant Ball Club since they moved to San Francisco.
And now again a 3-2 count.
The other players, John Bacabella, Alan Gallagher, Mike Vail, and Kenny Reitz.
Been some great players that were raised here that played in other ball clubs.
Joe DiMaggio, the most famous, probably.
Joe DiMaggio, Joe Cronin, another, both in the Hall of Fame. And Dino Rostelli. You know, he was introduced down here today.
I did not know that. No, I didn't.
Dino Rostelli, who came up from the San Francisco Seals to join the Pittsburgh Pirates. He started off like no one in the history of baseball in his major league career. And then all of a sudden the bottom dropped out. The wheels came off. So Hernandez becomes the first base runner on the walk on the 3-2 pitch. And that'll bring up George Foster, the hero of last night's ball game. That was Foster's 2-run home run in the 9th inning that tied the game at 6. His 20th home run. Foster now has 63 runs batted in and a .247 average. Foster has hit the Giants very, very well. He's had 12 hits this year and 30 times up. That's a .400 batting average, and he's hit 3 home runs and driven in 7 throughout the year against San Francisco.
Very exciting game last night. The Mets winning in 10 innings, 7-6. Foster hit his home run off Gary Lavelle.
And he pops up the fastball. A lot of room for a play, but it's just not high enough for John Robb to get to it. So Robb, a good try, but not able to get there.
Well, the dugouts are so far away from home plate in this ballpark, and the combination of the long run, the sun, and usually the wind, however, it's silent here in windy Candlestick today as it was last night. But all of those combinations make for very difficult plays if a catcher or first baseman get to a ball near the dugout. You need per diem. That's how far away it is.
Yeah, it is a train ride. I never thought I'd live to see the day that I would say here the wind is not a factor. And there's a ball foul off on the right field side, so they count now at strike 2.
I think last night's game presented the prettiest weather. There you see a little wind blowing up, but that flag is not used to blowing that idly here at Candlestick. It's usually whipping out to right field.
2 strikes to count. Hernandez draws the throw at first. Jim Fry, the first base coach for the Mets, at third base, Bobby Valentine.
Not a bad running situation here, Ralph. It's 0-2. Foster will probably get the fork ball in the dirt.
He gets it. It's strike 3. So Brining strikes out 3 batters in the inning. The Mets leave a runner on a walk, and the score at the end of 1/2 inning. The Mets nothing, and the Giants coming up. Now here's a word from Dotson. Hubie Brooks at third. Out in left field, George Foster. Center fielder, Danny Heath. And in right field, Darryl Strawberry. The catcher, Ron Hodges. And on the mound, Ed Lynch. They have a record of 8-7. Earned run average of 3.63. And in 136 innings pitched, Ed has given up a lot of hits, 157 hits, but he's walked only 33 while striking out 34. Now, if that's the moon, we're in deep trouble.
Our director, Bill Webb's rendition of the moon at daytime here at Candlestick Park.
Well, they say it's a sophisticated city out here, but I don't know about that.
Only in Alaska can you see the moon in the daytime.
Land of the midnight sun. And right here is Johnny LeMaster to lead off. LeMaster hitting .245 for the year with 6 home runs, 28 runs batted in. He leads the club in stolen bases with 36. And the first pitch, strike 1. LeMaster 1 for 3 last night. And the fastball, strike 2.
In contrast to Fred Brining, his counterpart Ed Lynch is a contact pitcher. He has walked 33 and has not struck out too many more than that this year. 34, as a matter of fact.
And he has now struck out his 35th batter. And LeMaster sent back to the bench. He didn't like this call.
No, he didn't. He argues with Ed Montague, the home plate umpire. That is a perfect pitch right there. That is painting the corner, and LeMaster still arguing with Montague.
Now he finally decides that he better give it up. He goes back to the bench, and that'll bring up Darrell Evans. Evans has had 9 hits in his last 24 at-bats. That's a .375 average, and it has raised his average to .281. Has 25 home runs and 63 runs batted in. Having an outstanding year, and Evans will be right on top of the plate. Stands extremely close to the plate and fouls off a fastball.
Give you an idea about how much contact Ed Lynch, when he pitches, gets. He has never struck out more than 4 in any outing this year. And he did that 3 times. Or he's done that 3 times.
1 ball, 1 strike. Evans high as a home run hitter. 41 when he played for the Atlanta Braves. Played on the outstanding team that year. They set an all-time Major League record. There's a pitch at the knees, a called strike. That year, 3 players for the first time in Major League history had 40 or more home runs. Darrell Evans had 41. Hank Aaron also over 40. And Dave Johnson, who manages in the Mets farm system, had 43. High pop-up, and the third baseman, Hubie Brooks, shading from the sun to make the play.
That year back in 1973 for the Atlanta Braves. That right there, you got 3 guys with over 120 home runs.
And they didn't win.
Most teams don't have 120 home runs for the whole ball club.
Only time it's been done. 3 with 40 or more home runs. That was the Atlanta Braves. Now the batter, Jack Clark. He grounds it out to the third base side. Hubie Brooks has an easy play, throws over to first base, and the Giants go in order. And the score at the end of one, the Giants nothing, the Mets nothing. Now here's a word from Manufacturers Hanover. Private non-commercial use of our audiences, any publication, reproduction, retransmission, or other use of the pictures, descriptions, and accounts of this game without the express written consent of the New York Mets and WRTV is prohibited.
All right, sports fans, that is my colleague Ralph Kiner.
That was taken about 3 or 4 days ago. It really is wonderful how they can develop those things so quickly.
Incredible. You know who that picture looks like? Looks like Mike Kiner.
Yeah, it does, my son, yeah.
Pleasure of meeting in Los Angeles.
And it's Darryl Strawberry attempting to bunt, and he bunts it back foul. No play for the catcher, John Rabb. Strawberry, who had a home run in yesterday's ball game, now tied for the rookie lead in home runs with the first baseman for the Dodgers, Greg Brock. Strawberry with 17 home runs, 48 runs batted in, hitting .232. Fred Brining, the pitcher, and he comes back with a fastball and gets a strike.
And Strawberry's played 20 less games, or 20 fewer games than Greg Brock. Darrell's played 83, and Brock 103. Darrell only 3 RBIs behind Brock also.
And he fouls off the fastball. Strawberry back on June 4th was hitting .161, and here on the 20th, he is now hitting, 20th of August, he is now hitting at .232. Fastball missing, and it's 1-2. Strawberry has hit in 6 of his last 7 ball games and 15 of his last 18. And over that last 18 game period, he's batting .300. And there's a count of 2-2. Incidentally, Tim, they're throwing him off fastballs. I guess they don't want him throwing that off-speed forkball.
Brining has a good fastball to complement. There's the forkball right there.
So now Brining has struck out his first 4 batters. Well, the Mets won last night by a score of 7-6, and it was Ron Hodges who won it.
And it's a fastball off of Greg Minton right down the left field line. And Brian Giles, who was on an error by Tom O'Malley, the third baseman, scores the winning run in the 10th inning. Mets win 7-6.
So Hodges getting the gamer and now batting for the first time here today. Hodges hitting .239, no home runs, and 16 runs batted in.
Mr. Brining appears to be sharp.
Oh, he certainly does. And a forkball.
See the bottom fall out of that? A forkball is a very, very heavy pitch, and when you do make contact, it's like hitting an anvil. Can't pull it. Have to take him right back through the middle.
Hard to believe that Brining had lost 5 straight ball games prior to his last win. There's one through the middle and a base hit. So Hodges breaks the spell after 4 consecutive strikeouts. Sandwiched in with a walk. Mets get a base runner on a base hit.
Ronnie must have heard it. This is about in the same position as the pitch he hit last night, only this was a forkball, and Ronnie doing a good job. You saw Brining try to stick that bare hand out there. Managers cringe when they see pitchers do that, Ralph.
Well, you could be out for the year if you break a finger.
But it's just a reaction, and any competitor is going to make that move.
Now the batter will be Brian Giles, the man who scored the winning run yesterday. Giles hitting .239. In yesterday's game, he came in the ball game in the latter stages of the game and had a double that drove in a big run for the Mets. Fastball for a ball. Giles with 1 home run and 15 runs batted in.
And that double that BG had last night, driving in a run, his first hit in 15 trips against the Giants this year.
Came at a very opportune time. And the fastball fouled away. Hodges on the pitch was moving, so he has to come back to first. Hodges, of course, not a man who would steal bases, so they used the hit-and-run play. Hit-and-run play, hoping to stay out of the double play. Giants have not made many double plays. They've only made 80 this year. Contrast to the Mets, 126, and there's one out to the second base area. Ball taken out there by LeMaster, and 2 men away. That'll bring up Jose Oquendo. Jose having a field day against the Giants this year, hitting .381. Overall, he's hitting .221. Has no home runs, and he's driven in 14. No score. 2 men away. We're in the top of the second inning. And it's ball 1.
Notice how long Montague waited to call that pitch. And if a pitcher is tough to hit, usually it's tough to umpire behind a catcher when a pitcher is throwing that late-breaking fork ball and really has to take his time. Montague, one of the better ball and strike umpires around. And he really waited on that, and that's what you have to do with that fork ball.
Throw over to first base, and Hodge is back from a short lead. There is Ed Montague, profiled by our camera. Fastball that time. 2 balls, no strikes. Jose Oquendo. And it's 3-0. So now Brining with a 3-0 count. The on-deck batter, the pitcher, Ed Lynch. So Oquendo checking to see whether or not he'll be taking, and you can bet your house on it. He'll be taking.
That is correct.
He takes a strike. Now, most managers would have the batter take again here, but the trend today is not to do that. He'll get the same pitch on the 3-1 pitch as he'll get on 3-2. My personal reaction is he should be taking here.
Yeah, you got the pitcher on deck, and you want to clear the pitcher so the leadoff hitter can lead off in the third inning.
Throw over to first base. And he was swinging away. Grounds it out to the shortstop, LeMaster. And LeMaster, who has not made an error in his last 22 games, makes a good play, and that ends the inning. So that means the pitcher will lead off in the next inning for the Mets, but no runs, 1 hit, and 1 man left on base. Now here's a word from Budweiser. The bottom of the mini quiz for you. Since Willie Mays was honored here, of course, everyone in New York associates Willie Mays with New York. Out here, it's with San Francisco. The youngest player to ever play in the major leagues was Joe Nuxhall at the age of 15. Who was the youngest player to ever hit a home run in the major leagues? I'll give you a hint. He played for the Brooklyn Dodgers.
Tommy Brown.
You got it. Right out of the stat sheet.
Tommy Brown in Ebbets Field. As a matter of fact, today is the, 38th anniversary?
That's right.
Tommy Brown being the youngest player ever to hit a home run, and he did it in Ebbets Field.
1945. And as we go to the bottom of the second here for the play-by-play, Tim McCarver.
All right, Ralph, thank you very much. Jeff Leonard from Philadelphia. Went to Overbrook High School, the same high school that Wilt Chamberlain and Walt Hazard went to. 2 pretty good basketball players there. And Jeff Leonard was a good basketball player in high school. And he's having a good year, too. He's batting .269. He's 9 for his last 24. And he has equaled his career total in home runs with 16 this year.
Went 444 official at-bats before he hit a major league home run. He did that against the New York Mets. He was playing for Houston at the time.
Broke in with the Astros. And he takes a fastball for a strike. 0-1 to Jeff Leonard.
Leonard originally was signed by the Dodgers. Talking about big events, I got another one for you. Yesterday, one of the smallest events that ever took place in baseball.
And did he check in time? He wanted to swing.
Eddie Goodell was used as a pinch hitter by Bill Veeck. Eddie was 3 foot 7 inches, a midget, weighed 65 pounds, wore number 18, and he pinch hit in the ball game. First and only time that's ever happened. That was back in 1951 on August 19th.
And a slider away, 2-1. What a colorful guy that Bill Veeck was and still is. Still goes to the games, Wrigley Field, and
sits out in the bleachers with his shirt off drinking beer.
And a ground ball. Nice play by Hubie Brooks as he exhibits why you should catch the ball out in front of you as opposed to behind you. Good play, Hubie. One away.
And Hubie has really done a job at third base with his consistency this year.
When you push that glove out, that brings your rear end down. And the farther back your glove is between your legs, the higher your rear end is. And you can't feel the ball effectively when that rear end is up.
It's like reaching out to pick something up. You have to get down.
Right, you bend from the knees and lifting or whatever. Here's Chili Davis, who has lifted his average a couple of points last night. He had a couple of hits. And he takes a strike, 0-1.
He brings a 5-game hitting streak into this game. He was 2 for 5 last night.
Charles Chili Davis. What a magnificent baseball name, huh? Swinging a change-up, 0-2. Chili's in the hole.
Chili got his name in a rather unusual way. I guess in those days, a lot of kids got their hair cut with a chili ball on top of their head.
That happened when he was 12 years old, and his friends kidded him, called him Chili, and that name is stuck. It's 1-2 to Chili Davis. There's a young Giants fan there.
Giants are ahead in their attendance this year by a couple 100,000, but it has dropped off lately.
Line drive, foul down the right field line. He hit it well, but pulled it foul. Still 1-2. Ed Lynch has retired the first 4 men to face him. Lynch 1-4 lifetime against the San Francisco Giants and 0-1 this year. Change up outside, 2-2.
Lynch said he's always had the change up, but he never used it very much. It's really made him a major league pitcher.
Always around the plate. As I said, he's only walked 33 in 158 innings. Line drive right at Brian Giles. Took 2 steps to his left, and he made the catch. And that's an example of how tough that sun is. Brian Giles does not wear sunglasses. And even with the line drive, it gave him problems.
This ball's not hit very high in the air. He does have to go up and look up. Right there, he pulls it down, and he did have some trouble with the sun. He refuses to wear sunglasses. He said he has never lost a ball in the sun. And he can get away with that until he does lose one.
This ballpark and Wrigley Field, the 2 toughest sun fields, will combine with that wind also. Here's Joel Youngblood. And a breaking ball strike, 0-1. Lynch staying ahead of the hitters, as he often does. And a fastball outside. 1-1 to Youngblood, who signed as a free agent after leaving the Montreal Expos last year. He joined the Expos in fine fashion, didn't he, Ralph?
No one did it like he did.
Swing and a miss at a change-up, 1-2.
He was with the Mets. And they sold his contract to Montreal. Montreal was playing in Philadelphia. He got a base hit as a Met player in the afternoon game, took a plane over to Philadelphia and played in the game and got a base hit there. No one's ever done that.
2 hits in the same day in 2 separate cities. And he lines this one. Nice play, Brooks. And Brooks, in 2 innings, has had 4 chances. As the Giants go quietly once more. No runs, hits, errors, nobody left. And at the end of 2 innings of play here at Candlestick Park in San Francisco, there's no score. Now a word from Oldsmobile at Candlestick Park and some of the incredible stats that the man amassed over a 22-year period. Willie Mays, 3rd in home runs with 660, 4th in runs scored, 7th in RBIs, and 9th in hits. The man could play a little bit. And here's Ed Lynch to lead it off here in the 3rd inning. No score. Only 1 hit in the ball game. The Giants have none as Lynch has retired 6 in a row. And Whitson has allowed 1 hit and 1 walk, and he struck out 4 in 2 innings. Final score, the Atlanta Braves beat the Chicago Cubs 9-2, so technically they're 4 games ahead of the Dodgers. Dodgers play this evening against the Philadelphia Phillies. The Dodgers winning last night 3-0 on a shutout by Alejandro Pena.
And yesterday, Atlanta defeated the Cubs by a score of 5-3. Phil Niekro, the winner, now 9-7. Gaylord. No, I was going to say Gaylord Perry.
How about Gaylord Perry? Yeah.
I had a no-hitter going for 7 innings. If he'd have pitched a no-hitter, he would have been the oldest pitcher to ever pitch a no-hitter in the major leagues.
44 years old, right. So Brining has fallen behind Ed Lynch 2-0. And another fastball misses. So Ed Lynch will probably be taking 2. One at a time, though.
A lot of people say that when you want to walk someone intensely, just say, okay, ball 4, go.
Or go to your mouth 4 times. You can't go to your mouth on the mound. You saw
every time you do, it's a ball.
Carlos Diaz was called for a ball last night in doing so. And Lynch fouls it back. So we're 0 for 2 in thinking that hitters are going to be taking with the count 3-1. We might have to change our thinking.
This time it was the pitcher that was given the go-ahead on it.
That pitch may have been a ball, too. And that's the ground ball to the left side. The sure hands of Johnny LeMaster makes the play, and there's one away. You mentioned LeMaster has not made an error in 22 ball games. He's only made 1 in his last 31 and only 18 for the season. So Danny Heap will take his time as Ed Lynch exerted himself in running the ball out down to first base. That's a bit overrated.
I was just thinking that. It's a nice, cool day, perfect day for baseball, and how you can't be in that bad a shape that kind of a exertion would tire you out at all.
Put that in the same category as a pitcher wearing his jacket when he's on first base. Or pitchers asking you to roll up the window when the wind's on it. That montage, I guess is the word, as Heath lifts a fastball to left field, and Jeff Leonard is there. And there are 2 out here in the 3rd inning.
Speaking of riding with pitchers, on the way to the ballpark yesterday, Tim McCarver and a few of us, along with Tom Seaver, came out in the rent-a-car that we had. The car was smoking, and Mr. Tom Seaver, who makes, I would say, somewhere around $1 million, was out looking under the hood, trying to find out why the car was on fire.
Highest paid mechanic in the city of San Francisco.
Right in the middle of Market Street.
Joined by our expert director, Bill Webb.
You know, it surprised me. When you got the hood up, the bonnet on the hood up, Bill Webb said, that's the engine right there. He did know.
Mechanical genius. A one-hopper to O'Malley at 3rd, and he throws out Hubie Brooks, 3 up, 3 down for the Mets in the 3rd. And at the end of 2.5 innings of play, there's no score here in San Francisco.
Trade of Rick Honeycutt going over to the Dodgers. He's 14-8 for Texas. He leads the league in earned run average at 2.42. And he's sort of a strange type pitcher. He does not throw hard, has not much of a curveball. He has been known for cutting up a baseball illegally. He was suspended for that action. How do you think he'll fit in the National League?
Honeycutt is his name, and that's what he does to balls, huh?
That's what he does best.
Well, I think he'll fit in fine. He was 14-8, as you said. He had an excellent ERA of 2.42. But he was in the last year of his contract year, and that's one of the reasons the Rangers got rid of him. They traded him for Dave Smoke Stewart, fine right-handed pitcher, and cash considerations. Here's Tom O'Malley, takes a fastball high, 1-0. Tom batting .262. And he's hitting 8 of his last 9. Another fastball's high, 2-0.
He's hit fairly well against the Mets this year. 7 hits for .291 batting average. 1 for 4 last night.
There's a strike. You know, Ralph, the Dodgers already have the best pitching staff in baseball, so Honeycutt can add a little honey to that staff, right?
Certainly can.
And a changeup is low. 3-1 to the young left-handed hitter from Montoursville, Pennsylvania. Lives right around the New York area in New Jersey. And he gets jam of the fastball. Left side, Hubie Brooks. And Hubie makes the catch. That is the 5th chance in 2 1/3 innings for Hubie Brooks.
7 batters, and Hubie has been involved with 5 of them.
And the batter's going to be John Rath. John 0 for 5 against the Mets this year. Against the league, he's batting .247. He has 1 home run, 13 RBIs.
And Steve Nicosia, recently acquired, is in uniform for the Giants.
He was traded also yesterday for Milt May, the left-handed hitting catcher who went to the Pirates. First pitch a strike, 0-1 to Rath. And a changeup outside. 1-1 to John Rath. And a ball is outside, 2-1. The major league record for chances accepted by a third baseman is 13. So Hubie Brooks with 5 in this ball game is only 8 shy of the record, and he's got 20 outs to do it in. Changeup is inside, or inside strike, 2-2 to Rath. Hit this one to left center field. Danny Heath glasses down, makes the catch. So Ed Lynch has retired 8 in a row. And the batter's going to be pitcher Fred Brining. If he's retired 8 in a row, what is Ron Hodges doing on the mound now with the pitcher coming up?
He's saying keep it up.
Keep going, huh?
That's right. Brining has 7 hits and 51 times up.
Batting .137. A good athlete. Fine basketball player in high school. And there's a strike from Ed Lynch.
Ed Lynch went to college on a basketball scholarship.
University of South Carolina, right? Slider outside. 1-1 to Brining.
Go, Brining!
Eddie got a BA in finance from the University of South Carolina.
You know, talking about good athletes, I would have to say that Jackie Robinson was probably the best of all athletes in baseball.
All around, huh?
All around. He was a great football player, great basketball player, and, of course, a Hall of Fame baseball player.
And second strikeout for Ed Lynch as the Giants again go in order. 9 in a row retired by Lynch. And at the end of 3 innings of play here at Candlestick, there's no score. Now a word from Burger King. Candlestick Park here in San Francisco. 2 gorgeous days to play baseball in less than 24 hours. And as Keith Hernandez steps in the top of the 4th inning for the play-by-play, Steve Zabriskie.
Thank you, Tim, and a good afternoon to you all. And you can't ask for a better day in the Bay Area than today. Shall we say a better day at Candlestick Park, because about 15 miles from here the weather changes for the better dramatically. But it's perfect as far as Candlestick's concerned. Hernandez walked his first time up, as Brining has only allowed 1 hit through the first 3 innings while striking out 4. And Hernandez the only walk he has issued. No score as we go to the top of the 4th inning, and that pitch on the inside corner for strike 1. And strike 2 on a fork ball that went down in a hurry. Brining's had that pitch working. He's had all his pitches working.
And he stayed ahead for the most part. He walked Hernandez, the only walk given.
Tried it again, but Hernandez did not bite. That walk to Keith Hernandez, 66th of the season. He's 6th in the league, tied with Tim Raines of Montreal. Ground ball to second. Young blood, plenty of time, and there's 1 away. And that'll bring up George Foster. George struck out swinging in the first inning after going 3 for 6 last night to raise his average against San Francisco this year to an even .400. coming into the game. George has a habit of going on a tear against both the Giants and the Cincinnati Reds, the two teams for which he formerly played. And there's that forkball again. The illusion of a strike.
Yep. Another one.
One more time.
Forkball is held between the index finger and the middle finger of course, the right hand. And the thing about that makes it so deceptive is it's the same arm motion as the fastball, and you're swinging technically at the arm motion and not the ball. Now, if you take the approach as a hitter that you're going to wait longer than Brining has a fastball, it can get on top of you. So it's, I guess, the Hobson's choice, huh?
It's kind of between a rock and a hard place, and he gets Foster swinging, but apparently a foul tip dropped by Johnny Rabb. So George stays alive with a count 1 ball, or rather, I say 1 ball, 2 strikes. The scoreboard says 2-2.
It's 1-2. You were correct.
Thank you. And there's a ground ball foul, so it's still 1-2.
Talk about the wind here at Candlestick. This park would be a good park if Livingston, Montana were in the league.
Another strikeout. Foster goes down for the second time in the game, and 5 now for Brining in just 3 2/3.
Livingston, Montana is the windiest place that I've ever been in my life. It's so windy that a lot of the farmers there are selling the rights to their wind with energy machines.
To generate power.
To generate power, right.
Good place for windmills. Just up the valley here, on the East Bay side of the San Francisco Bay Area, there are about 100 windmills on the downslopes to catch the wind coming up from the valley.
It's part of that same project, as a matter of fact.
Dale Strawberry, the batter, with 2 out and nobody on. Strawberry looked at a called third strike. Takes this one outside, and it's 1-1.
Livingston, Montana, beautiful little town, right in the shadows of Yellowstone Park. Gorgeous little place.
Breaking ball high.
Here's that fork ball right there, or at least it's just a blur, but that's part of the arm motion that a hitter would see. A very rapid arm motion, the same as a fastball, and there it is.
Darrell right over the top of it. 2-2 now. Strawberry hitting .231. And that's out of play. Sharply hit, but foul.
Darrell with tremendous power to left field. 4 of his home runs have come to left field. His first major league home run off Lee Tunnel was to left field. He's hit 2 off of left-handers this year. His second one off of Mark Davis of the Giants last night.
And well hit to center field, but Davis will get there. Strawberry hits it right on the button, but lines out. 8 in a row now, retired by Brining. And so in the middle of the 4th, still no score here at Candlestick. Now here's a word from Dotson. The Giants will have the top of the order up to face Eddie Lynch. And we want to remind you that the Mets and Michelob Light will give all fans 16 and over a free 16-ounce tankard when they come to Shea. That's a tankard with a D on the end, not a tanker ER. For the Mets-Giants game Friday night, August the 26th. The tankard is made of durable plastic, holds a full can of beer or soda, so make your plans now for tankard night. Saturday, August 26th, when the Mets meet Frank Robinson's Giants.
Everybody over 16, right?
Everybody over 16.
Does that include me?
I guess so.
Some to home of Michelob. Speaking of Michelob.
I think she's a fan. LeMaster takes the ball from Ed Lynch. LeMaster called out on strikes in the first inning. Argued a bit with home plate umpire Ed Montague. And it's ball 2. Ed Lynch has struck out 2 through the first 3 and retired 9 in a row. It's really only been one hard hit ball. That was Davis's line drive to Brian Giles at second. There's a called strike, and it's 2-1. Fouled out of play, 2-2.
Giants are a strange ball club. You know, they've been going so poorly this year. About 20 games under 500 and buried in 5th place in the National League West, but there are a lot of players on their team having banner years in certain categories. LeMaster with 36 stolen bases, Leonard with 16 home runs, matching his career high.
Evans with 25.
Yep. Jack Clark not having a bad year, 16 home runs.
And you look at the performances of some of the people in their bullpen.
Yep.
You've got to wonder why they're not winning more. That ball's out of play. And the count's still 3-2.
Frank Robinson, the UPI Manager of the Year last year, and Joe Torre was the AP Manager of the Year. What a player he was, Frank Robinson.
Popped up and playable on the right side. Hernandez battles the sun in foul territory and makes the catch. 1 out in the bottom of the 4th inning, and 10 in a row for Ed Lynch. And that'll bring up Darrell Evans. Evans 1 for 5 last night, 0 for 1 so far today, having popped out to Hubie Brooks at 3rd in the 1st inning. Hitting .280. Howdy Doody, they call him.
Mm-hmm.
And if you take a close look, you'll know why. He's even got some freckles to go along with it. Ball 1. There's Darrell. Popped up and drifting over toward the stands, but there's a lot of room there, and Hubie Brooks has a play and makes it. 11 in a row for Eddie. 2 foul pops for 2 outs here in the 4th, and Jack Clark will be the hitter.
Mentioned Darrell Evans and Howdy Doody. Be a nice sobriquet for this park. Summer, fall, winter, spring.
That's right.
About all the conditions you get here.
She, of course, the Indian princess on the Howdy Doody show. Summer, fall, winter, spring is any day here.
That's right.
Any day of the year. Called strike to Clark. Clark was 2 for 3 last night, 0 for 1 so far this afternoon. And Lynch has him chase one out of the strike zone, so it's 0-2. One ball and 2 strikes.
You say that Ed Lynch pulled the string on Howdy Doody?
I wouldn't, but I leave those to you. We've said it before, but Ed Lynch has really been the most consistent pitcher for the Mets all season long as far as the starter is concerned. And there's the first hit of the ball game for the Giants. Ed Lynch had retired 11 batters in a row. With 2 out here in the 4th inning, Jack Clark singles to center.
And not a bad pitch here. It's up a little bit, but it's on the outside part of the plate. And Clark, with that tremendous reach of his, he's only 6'2", but he has very long arms. And he can really cover the outside part of the plate. He did that twice last night with a couple of base hits.
And here's Jeff Leonard. Leonard 1 for 5 last night, drove in a couple of runs. He grounded to Brooks at 3rd his first time up. Ball outside. No score here in the 4th inning, 2 out with Jack Clark, the runner at first. And a strike, 1-1. Let's say Ed Lynch pulled the string that time. Clark, not much of a threat to run. He's stolen 3 bases in 6 attempts. And he came back with a fastball that time.
That's what happens a lot of times when you get a lot of off-speed pitches. A guy who normally can't throw the fastball by you because you're sitting on the off-speed pitch. He just blew an average fastball right by him. And that's what pitching is, Steve, as opposed to trying to throw it against a brick wall.
Runner going, and the fly ball is lofted to right field. Strawberry has it all the way, makes the catch, and the inning is over. Ed Lynch has kept the hitters off balance, has given up only the single to Jack Clark here in the 4th, but no damage done. We'll go to the 5th with no score. But now here's a word from Budweiser. With Tim McCarver and Ralph Kiner as we go to the 5th inning here at Candlestick in a scoreless ball game.
And in the trivia department, we'd like to tell everybody that Jay Horowitz shaved with a razor as opposed to an electric razor for the first time the other day, and it looked like Attila the Hun was his barber. I've never seen a man cut his face as much as Jay cut his face the other day.
He used up a package of tissues trying to get the bleeding stopped.
2 towels.
Jay, you're looking good, though. Go back to the electric razor. Ron Hodges leads it off against Fred Brining here in the 5th inning. And takes a strike on the inside corner. Hodges has the only hit for the Mets, a single to center back in the 2nd.
Jay does such a marvelous job. He does the work of 5 people in the Mets organization, and quite a guy. Really lightens the mood up, and he's a happy fellow.
He is. Great guy. Foul back. 0-2. Each club with 1 hit. Each pitcher doing an outstanding job in different ways. Brining has shown some power and also great deception with that forkball. The combination of that live fastball and forkball has been very effective. Hodges fooled with the forkball, reaches out and taps it foul. It's still 0-2.
He really hasn't thrown many breaking balls, if any, so far. He's got a bit of a slider, but that's his 3rd best pitch. Talked about Ed Lynch, how he can surprise you with the fastball. Well, Fred Brining can too, because a lot of hitters have to protect against that forkball.
There's exactly the kind of pitch that Hodges hit for a double to drive in the winning run last night, and he's on second base after slapping that outside pitch down the left field line. 2 for 2 for Hodges.
2 for 2 and some deja vu for you. I'm telling you, he hits it about in the same spot as he did his game winner last night. He hit that, of course, off of Greg Minton as the bullpen scatters, and Leonard throws late to second base. So the biggest opportunity to score that the Mets have had all day.
That either team has had,
right,
for that matter.
Mm-hmm.
First runner to reach second base in the ball game, and it comes here with nobody out in the 5th. Brian Giles will be the batter, and they're playing in at 1st and 3rd. O'Malley at 3rd and Evans at 1st. 2nd and short at normal depth.
I don't know if I'd bunt here with Oquendo and the pitcher scheduled up.
Really changes when you get that leadoff guy on and you've got the bottom of the order coming up. There's a line shot just foul down the left field line.
I mean just foul. Good call by Dick Stello, the 3rd base umpire, but I mean, this is a rocket down the 3rd base line. Hit so hard that there it is.
Couldn't catch up with it.
Right.
Brian Giles staring down at Dick Stello after the call, and Stello held his 2 fingers apart about 1 inch as if to tell Brian just barely foul. I don't know how Dick made the call. He almost got hit. No balls and 1 strike. Nobody out with Hodges at 2nd in a scoreless game. Strike called.
Well, the priorities here is to put the ball in play now with 2 strikes. You'd prefer to do it to the right side of the infield. And in the process, you may get a base hit. But tough assignment because Giles is in the hole 0-2.
Line shot, base hit left field. Hodges held up and will not score as the ball was very sharply hit. Brian makes a big turn and scrambles back into 1st. Runners at first and third with nobody out.
Well, technically, Steve, even if the ball is not sharply hit to the other side, you've got to make sure the ball goes through if you're the runner at second base, unless, of course, there are 2 outs. And Ronnie held up properly, and there's no way to score. Usually, unless there are 2 outs, it's a very, very difficult play to make if you're on second base, because your view and from your angle, there's no way to tell whether the ball's between short and third.
You can't tell how far past the shortstop it is.
Right.
So Jose Oquendo, who grounded out his first time up, will be the batter, as the Mets have something going here in the top of the 5th with runners at first and third and nobody out. Inside, ball 1.
I tell you, with a slow runner at third base, I might play the infield about halfway. The middle infielders are in double play depth, but that's not quite as shallow as halfway because you have the pitcher up next. And I think I may go for the run at home with the pitcher up next as opposed to the double play, because by going for the double play, you're conceding the run. And in a game, a low-scoring game like this, 1 run might be enough.
That's right. A bunt down the first base line. Evans will not have a play at the plate, and he tags Oquendo out, but it's an RBI on the bunt by Jose Oquendo, and the Mets lead 1-0.
And this is a squeeze, but it's not a totally suicidal squeeze. Hodges didn't break right away, but Oquendo, in moving Giles to second base, which is one of the reasons he's bunting, but primarily it's to get Ron Hodges home. So a very interesting play here with first and third and nobody out. And the Mets take the lead 1-0.
And as you see, Giles now at second base, so it's a sacrifice and an RBI for Jose Oquendo. And here's Eddie Lynch for strike 1. Lynch grounded to short his first time up, batting here with 1 out. And Brian Giles at second base.
Brian Giles has told me on more than one occasion that third base is easier to steal than first, and he's right. Even though it's a shorter throw for the catcher to make, usually he has the impediment of a right-handed hitter. Plus, there's nobody holding you on at second.
Grounded foul at the plate. 0-2.
And it would be a good time to try to steal third base because it's 1 out. You take more chances getting to third with 1 out than you do with none or 2 out, because you never want to make the first or the third out at third base.
And the obvious advantage of being at third with 1 out is scoring on the fly ball.
Something other than a hit. Right.
Pass ball, when we've seen Brian Giles create a balk situation and score that way.
Did that in Houston with the Astrodome.
There's a shot down the line, base hit, fair ball into the corner. Giles had to hold up. Now comes around to score, and Ed Lynch will hold it first with an RBI single. It's 2-0 New York.
Well, a 50 inning for the Mets. A clutch hit by Ed Lynch, and out of nowhere, Browning giving up only 1 hit coming in. Eddie squeezes this. Well, you talk about a game of inches, just inside the bag, and Brian Giles scores easily. Nice play by Leonard in retrieving that ball. Kind of a neat little inning, isn't it?
It is.
Huh?
The bottom of the order working here. And a conference going on the mound. Herm Starrett, the pitching coach, is out. Mark Calvert in the bullpen for the Giants, just beginning to throw.
Hey, you know the big pitch in this inning? The 0-2 pitch to Brian Giles. Now, Browning, here he is sailing right along, making good pitches to everybody, even the ball Hodges hit, but that was a mistake. And that mistake, I think, opened the gates to what has happened, and what may still happen in this inning.
That put runners at first and third with nobody out. Jose Oquendo with a sacrifice squeeze bunt, driving in Hodges with the first run, and Ed Lynch with an RBI single to left scores Giles from second. It's 2-0. Still 1 out with Lynch at first, and here's Danny Heap, who looks at a ball low. Heap is 0 for 2. He's struck out and flied to left. Danny playing center field and leading off, as Mookie Wilson is still bothered by the pulled right hamstring, but is close to being back. Another fly ball down the left field line. Leonard will not get there as it lands in foul territory, and it's strike 1, 1-1. Good point, Tim, on the 0-2 pitch to Giles. Those little things are often overlooked.
Yeah, they really are. And of course, If a guy hits the ball off the handle or off the end of the bat with a count 0-2, a manager's not going to really be upset. But to drive him in the hole and then turn around and pitch to him like it's 2-0 as opposed to 0-2 just makes no sense. And wait till I get on Eddie Lynch about wearing his jacket.
I was wondering how long it would take you to pick up on that. He swings it one down and away. It's 1-2.
People in the stands with their shirts off, and Eddie's got his jacket on.
Oh, well. You can't change pitchers. They've got their own way of doing it.
You're telling me.
Nice play by Rabb. 2-2 now to Heath. Too high, and it's 3-2.
Well, even though it's a pitcher on first base, you think he'll be running? Possibly. Mets have a 2-0 lead.
3-2, 1 out.
Try to blow things open here. I'd send him.
He doesn't go, however, and Heath strikes out.
And I would have been wrong in sending him.
That makes 3 today.
0 for 3 in the booth.
Hubie Brooks now will be the hitter as we look at the pitch again.
And Danny Heath going down for the second time today, and that a fork ball. 3-2 fork ball. That's the 6th strikeout for Fred Browning.
Hubie Brooks has struck out and grounded out. And he hits a shot but foul down the third base side. 0-1. He'll be hitting .269. Line drive left field, base hit into the corner. Leonard over to cut it off. Lynch will have to stop at second as Leonard gets the ball back in quickly. And a 2-out single by Hubie Brooks puts runners at first and second with 2 out.
Well, that's going to bring up Keith Hernandez now with the runner in scoring position. Hubie really stayed on that fork ball very, very well. Brining blew him away in the first inning, and then Hubie grounded out harmlessly to O'Malley a second time up. But that's a good piece of hitting by Hubie. He really went down and got that ball.
Third time up, he's had an opportunity to gauge it a little better.
Right, third time through the lineup.
There's Hernandez, and he lines one into right field. A base hit just past the diving Youngblood. Here comes Lynch. He's being held. The throw to the plate is a good one, and it's a good thing they held Lynch. He would have been out. Here comes Frank Robinson as we look at it again.
Well, you were so right, Steve Zabriskie. I mean, there is no way for Ed Lynch to score on this ball. Jack Clark has a rifle for an arm and right, and he shows it right there, even though it was a little offline. Well, I'll tell you, this is an amazing game. Fred Brining looked like a world beater for 4 innings, and now he's being taken out of the ball game.
Struck out the side in the first inning with a walk sandwiched in there to Hernandez. Struck out the next batter in the top of the second inning. Leaves after striking out 6 but giving up 2 runs on 6 hits, and leaves with the bases loaded here in the 5th inning and 2 out. So Brining goes 4 2/3 and is still responsible for those runners on base as Mark Calvert, the young right-hander, pitched at Phoenix last year, comes into the ball game in relief.
And National League scoreboard, Steve. Atlanta over the Chicago Cubs 9-2. Daly, the winner. Game-winning RBI, Randy Johnson. And Steve Trout took the loss. Steve now at 9-11. Cincinnati at Pittsburgh later on this evening. Bruce Perini against Jose De Leon, the fine young right-hander for the Buccos. Houston at St. Louis. Bob Nepper against John Stuper. Philadelphia at L.A. Marty Bystrom against Fernando Valenzuela. Fernando 12-6 on the year, by the way. And in the American League, Kansas City losing to Baltimore for the 3rd time in less than 24 hours. They lost 6-1. And Boddicker, the winner. He's 10-6 for the Birds. And Larry Gura took the loss. He's 10-15. Boston over Toronto 5-2. Eckersley, the winner. And Dave Steve, the loser. He's 13-11. Seattle at Cleveland. Beatty against Larry Sorensen. California at New York. That's Tommy John against Shane Raleigh. Oakland and Milwaukee later also. McCaddy against McClure. And Chicago at Texas, Britt Burns against Dave Smoke Stewart, getting his first American League start. And Detroit at Minnesota, Juan Berenguer against Viola.
Well, here's Mark Calvert out of Coweta, Oklahoma, born in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Calvert 0-3, 4.43 ERA. His 13th appearance. He has started one ball game this year. He has no saves. He's pitched 20 in the third innings. He's given up 10 earned runs, a home run, walked 19, and struck out only 7. And George Foster will be the first batter Calvert will face with the bases loaded and 2 out here in the 5th. The Mets leading 2-0. Foster has struck out twice against Brining. There it is to left field. Is it deep enough? George Foster may have hit his 11th grand slam of his career. He has. On the first pitch, Foster's 21st home run of the year, a grand slam to left, and it is quickly 6-0 New York.
Oh, baby. Well, George Foster very, very happy, and credit Bobby Valentine for not sending Ed Lynch, because Lynch would have been out. George Foster, his second Grand Slam home run since the All-Star break, and as you said, his 11th lifetime. He is tied. That ties him for the active leadership with Dave Kingman, a little backup slider. On a normal day, that ball probably wouldn't have been out of here because the wind would have been blowing. Kingman with 11 Grand Slam home runs.
And here is Darryl Strawberry as the crowd is really buzzing, and Foster continues to murder the ball against his former teams. Inside, and it's 2-0.
And Johnny Bench, along with Dave Kingman, also with 11.
And Strawberry walks. So the Mets have batted around here in the 5th inning. Strawberry, the 9th man to come to the plate, draws a walk. Those 3 of those 4 runs are charged to Brining, 1 to Calvert.
Talk about Grand Slams. The all-time leader in Grand Slams was here today. Willie McCovey with 18 Grand Slam home runs. Most of them here in Candlestick. George Foster with 11 lifetime that's a ton of Grand Slam home runs.
And here's Ron Hodges, who is 2 for 2 and started this inning off with a double. What seems like a long time ago, 6 runs ago, as the Mets have scored 6-4 on Foster's Grand Slam, and Strawberry is at first with 2 out. Down low, 1-0. That's 5 straight balls from Calvert since he gave up the home run to Foster. The first pitch he threw in relief of Brining was to George Foster, and George sent it out of here. Strawberry being held closely. Darryl has 13 stolen bases in 17 tries. Strike called. It's 2-1. Or 1-1, I should say. Hodges is 2 for 2, a single and a double, and a run scored. He was 1 for 1 last night, and that one was the game winner. So Hodjo 3 for 3 in the series. Fouled straight back, 1-2. Calvert lives in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma, which is a suburb of Tulsa, actually.
That's the town in which Bill Russell, the shortstop for the Dodgers, lives.
Bill Russell has a construction concern there in the offseason. Pitch out, but Strawberry not going, and it's 2-2.
Well, Strawberry doesn't have a big lead at first base. 20 years ago, it used to be considered dirty pool if a team with a 6-run lead would try to steal in the middle innings, the late inning. That is not necessarily in vogue anymore.
Well, you know, the game has changed a great deal offensively, and it seems like no lead is safe any longer. You've got to try and get as many as you can.
There's a base hit inside the line. It could be another double for Hodges. Strawberry going around to third, and now Clark can't pick the ball up as it gets in the dugout. Strawberry will score. Hodges going to third. Here comes the throw, and they won't make the relay. We'll see how they scored as it rattled around down there. Strawberry makes it 7-0, and Hodges winds up on third, still with 2 out.
Well, it's at least a double for Ron Hodges as he picks on this breaking ball inside, right inside the line. The Mets exploding for 7 runs here in the 5th. Now watch when Clark comes over. It's just landing there. He picks it up, can't get it, picks it up again. Now he doesn't know where to throw the ball. I've got to believe it's going to be an error on Jack Clark, because certainly Strawberry probably would have scored, but Hodges wouldn't have gone to third.
And that's how they've scored it. It is a double and an error. Hodges now 3 for 3 today, 4 for 4 in the series as Brian Giles looks at a ball. Brian, the 11th man to bat. He singled here in the 5th inning and later scored 1 for 2. Popped up and playable behind the second base position for Joel Youngblood, and he makes the catch, and the inning is finally over, but the Mets have a big one. They score 7 runs on 7 hits. George Foster hits a grand slam home run. They send 11 men to the plate, and in the middle of the 5th inning, they lead 7-0. Now, here's a word from Manufacturers Hanover. Well, after that monstrous top of the 5th inning in which the Mets scored 7 runs on 7 hits, and George Foster's 21st home run of the year and 11th career grand slam helped the cause considerably. We'll go to the bottom of the 5th inning with the Giants having to play catch up, and Ed Lynch, who's been pitching superbly, padded nicely with a 7-0 lead. And our colleague Tim McCarver will come in to call it for you.
All right, Steve, thank you very much. Ed Lynch in comfortable control of this ball game, and with that dominating bullpen that the Mets have, you got to think this game is certainly not over, but the Mets are in complete control at this time. Dodgers have 20 come from behind victories this year, but
you mean the Giants?
I mean, I said the Dodgers. Yeah, I mean the Giants, as we look at Rennie Martin warming for San Francisco. But the Giants have, I doubt, come from behind by this many runs in the 5th inning. They have 5 innings to work with. And the batter's going to be Chili Davis. Chili lined hard to Brian Giles his first time. Giants have only had 1 base runner and 1 hit in the 4 innings. That Lynch's work. Fastball is high. 1-0 to Chili Davis.
Chili has a 5-game hitting streak going. He's hit in 8 of his last 9.
Chili, good power. He has 11 home runs this year, 23 last year. As a bevy of rookies, good rookies, flooded the National League last year. Line drive, nice play, Hernandez, and he wins the foot race to the bag. Good play by Keith Hernandez, and there's 1 away.
Well, if you ever wanted to see an example of the benefits of staying in front of the ball, that was it.
Yeah, and you can do that on the right side because it's not imperative that you make the catch over there because you don't have a throw.
Right.
You may have an underhand throw to the pitcher, but here's Joel Youngblood, grounded to third his first time up. Youngblood 0 for 3 against his old teammates. Ball hit well to right field. Strawberry, nice play. Backhands it near the line. And they're 2 away quickly here in the 5th inning.
This ball slicing away from Darrell and dying at the same time. And he has to put on a little extra burst of speed right in the middle to get to it, and makes a nice running backhanded stab.
He has got the gait of a sable antelope, doesn't he?
Talk about Wyoming. You see those antelope run over the plains. They look a lot like that.
You don't think he's moving, but he can cover some real estate. And O'Malley takes a fastball low. Tom popped the third his last time up, and a changeup is in there. 1-1 to Tom O'Malley.
Tom's hitting .333 over the last 9 games, hitting in 8 of 9.
And there's a strike, 1-2. That's the thing we were talking about earlier, Steve, about the Giants appear to be playing good ball, but they're not winning. Fastball. What a play by Hernandez. Lynch covering. What a great play by Keith Hernandez, his 2nd of the inning. No runs, no hits, no errors, and nobody left here in the 5th inning. As you see this sparkling play by Keith Hernandez. And after 5 innings of play, it's 7-0 New York. On top of the 6th inning, the Mets enjoying a 7-0 lead. And what's going on there?
Can't be bundled up against the cold. It's just not cold, or even in the sunshine. I don't know.
That was weird.
That one or two people. That's what I want to know.
Well, nonetheless, Jose Oquendo is going to be the batter. And Jose sacrificed an RBI. And to show you what folly that game-winning RBI is, Jose would be credited with the game-winning RBI should the Mets maintain their 7-0 lead. So he drove in the first run with a sacrifice squeeze.
That's right. A misleading statistic, to say the least. Incidentally, the 7 runs scored in that inning by the Mets, the most they've scored in an inning this year. Back on May 8th, they scored 6 runs in the 7th inning against Cincinnati, and it's the most since last May 16th. Back on May 16th of last year, the Mets scored 9 in the 6th inning against Los Angeles.
And a slider from Calvert misses, and it's 2-1. Fastball is a high strike. Jose does not agree with it, but it's 2-2. 7-0 Met lead. We're in the 6th inning. Ed Lynch pitching a jewel of a ball game. He's given up only 1 hit. Fastball fouled away, still 2-2.
Jose just a little bit behind that fastball, but hit it sharply.
James in with a fastball. Joel Youngblood, the second baseman, makes the catch, and there's 1 away. Fred Brining started this ball game sailing right along. Gave up only 1 hit, allowed 2 base runners in the first 4 innings, and the Mets exploded for 7-7. Here's Ed Lynch. And he swings and misses. He had a big base hit, an RBI single back in the 5th inning. I say back in it because it was last inning, but it was such a long time ago.
45 minutes ago. Eddie's just pitching a super ball game. He's only allowed 1 hit through the first 5, struck out 2 and walked none, showing his usual good control.
Fastball misses. 2-1 to Ed Lynch. That for Ed, by the way, his 4th RBI of the season. He leads the Met pitchers with 4 RBIs. 2-2 to Eddie. Fastball foul back. Still 2-2.
This is kind of an unenviable position for a pitcher like Mark Calvert to come into the game. Obviously, he hasn't been going well, and this is an opportunity for him to get some work and everything, but it's got to be tough.
Line drive, right field, and Jack Clark coming in. He wanted Darrell Evans to stay at first base, thinking he may have had a play. But in doing so, he failed to realize that Evans had to go after the ball.
Well, the crowd's booing, but Jack Clark trying to decoy and get a play at first base. Evans was over halfway to second base.
So Ed Lynch, second base hit in 2 innings, and here's Danny Heap. And it's strike one, 0-1 to Danny. Danny 0 for 3 today. And a slider misses. And it's 1-1 to Danny Heap. Danny leads the major leagues in pinch hit home runs with 4. He has 7 overall with 19 RBIs.
Danny, however, does not have a hit against the Giants this year.
He's 0 for 5 now, and he's behind in the count, 1-2.
Danny did not play at all in last night's opening game of this series.
Ed Lynch way off the bag as Evans was playing behind him, and he comes in to make the unassisted put out with Lynch moving to second base. And they're 2 away here in the 6th inning. And the batter Hubie Brooks, who singled and scored a run his last time up. With 2 out and Ed Lynch at first base, Hubie singled, Hernandez singled to right field, Clark making a good throw home. Lynch was held up at third. And George Foster greeted Mark Calvert with a grand salami. There's a strike on the inside.
Incidentally, Mets fans might be interested in the progress that Mookie Wilson is making with Danny Heap playing center field today. Mookie did take batting practice and did shag in the outfield today and ran the bases as well.
Ground ball, nice scoop by Tom O'Malley. He throws out Hubie Brooks. So the Mets are down scoreless here in the 6th inning. No runs, 1 hit. No errors and 1 left. And at the end of 5 1/2, the Mets lead 7-0.
So it's Keith Hernandez taking over here in the top of the 7th as the leadoff batter. There you see play at first base. And right now, there's a ball hit out to left field. Hernandez making the turn and trying for second base, and he goes in with a stand-up double. So Keith Hernandez, who had singled in the 5th inning, picks up his second hit of this ball game as he doubles in the left center field. And the Mets continue against Rennie Martin, who has a record of 1-4 and 1 save. That'll bring up George Foster. Foster, who had struck out his first 2 times up against the starting pitcher Fred Brining. Saw Brining taken out of the ballgame with the bases loaded, and they brought in Mark Calvert to pitch to Foster. And on the first pitch, Foster hit his second Grand Slam home run of the season. It was his 11th career Grand Slam home run, tying him with Dave Kingman, Rudy May, Joe Rudy, and also with Johnny Bench.
The major league leader is Joe Rudy, who has 12 over in the American League. And Foster hit his first career Grand Slam right here at Candlestick Park in San Francisco when he was with the Giants back in 1971.
It was Foster's 21st home run of the year. He has now driven in 10 runs with his last 3 home runs. And Rennie Martin misses. The count now 2 balls, no strikes. Foster's really had some success against the Giants this year. 4 home runs, and he has had 13 hits and 33 times up against them. And that is ball 3. So Martin, pitching around Foster, not willing to give in to him, has fallen behind with a count of 3 balls and no strikes. On deck, batter Darryl Strawberry. Three 3-0 the count. now ball 4 and Foster's walk. That puts runners at first and second with no one out. Mets leading in this ball game by a score of 7-0. And the batter coming up will be Darryl Strawberry. So the runner at second base is Hernandez. The runner at first base is Foster, and the batter is Darryl Strawberry. Darryl has no hits and 2 times up. And that is ball 1.
Darryl walked and scored his last time up in that big 5th inning when the Mets scored 7.
Martin came in with an earned run average of 4.89. And Strawberry misses. 1 ball, 1 strike. Strawberry with a home run in yesterday's ball game. And there's a drive to right field. Over is Jack Clark. He makes the catch, flips it back in. Hernandez tags up at second, goes to third, and he is out. So Keith Hernandez with a gamble, and it does not pay off as it is turned into a double play for the Giants. Their 81st of the year.
Strawberry hits this ball well, and Jack Clark makes a nice play on it, getting over. And we talked earlier about Clark's fine arm. He gets rid of the ball very quickly, hits the cutoff man, and the relay in plenty of time to third baseman O'Malley, who has the ball waiting for Hernandez.
So the double play leaves the runner at first base with 2 men out, and the batter will be Ron Hodges. Foster at first base. Hodges in this game has had 3 hits and 3 times up. He won the ball game last night with a double down the left field line. So Ron finally getting untracked with his bat. And that time he goes over the top of a breaking ball. 2 strikes to count.
Hodges has raised his average now to 250. He was hitting 239 coming into the game, and is 4 for 4 in the series.
Rennie Martin, the pitcher. And this ball chopped out over the mound, fielded by LeMaster. He has an easy play. And the Mets are out. 1 hit, a walk, and 1 man left on base. The score at the end of 6.5 innings, the Mets 7 and the Giants nothing. Right here, it's the Mets and Giants, the second game of this 3-game series. The Mets winning last night in 10 innings by a score of 7-6. And here today, they lead by a score of 7-0 as we move to the bottom of the 7th inning. And the leadoff batter for the Giants will be Jack Clark. Clark picked up the first hit for the Giants when he singled to center field in the 4th inning. Ed Lynch, who has never pitched a complete game in the major leagues, retired his first 11 batters and has given up no runs on 3 hits so far through 6 innings.
And as usual, Ed has not walked a batter. He doesn't strike out a lot, but he also walks even fewer.
In this game, he has struck out 2, and he is working now to Jack Clark. Clark hits a hard smash through the infield, a base hit. So Clark, who is having an off year, coming back now with his 4th hit in 2 games against the Mets. Today is Willie Mays Day, and a paid crowd of 23,319. Total in the house, 25,819. And so far, the Giant fans have not had anything to cheer about. So a runner at first and no one out, and Jeff Leonard, the batter. Leonard is 0 for 2. It has been just a beautiful day here at Candlestick. And Leonard swings and fouls a fastball away. Jeff Leonard. Leonard batting .267. And Lynch misses low in the count at 1 ball and 1 strike. Leonard with 16 home runs, tying his career high. There's a base hit through the middle. So the Giants now picking up a bit as they get their second hit of the inning. Leonard moving Clark down to second on the single. And the batter scheduled up is Chili Davis.
Frank Howard checking the lineup cards. Ed Lynch is making his 50th major league start. He has gone 8 innings 4 times this year. We're in the 7th now. He went 9 innings on August 20th last year against the Braves, pitching his complete game. It was a no decision for Ed in that game.
And here is Chili Davis. Chili 0 for 2. And he pops it up. Playable for Keith Hernandez. Keith over there makes the play. Tagged up at second and bluffing it going to third is Jack Clark. No one covering at second. And now Clark turning and going back to the bag.
Well, a big out in that situation to get 1 with runners at first and second, because then the double play can end the inning for you with Clark at second and Leonard at first. And Joel Youngblood now the batter. Youngblood 0 for 2.
And the first pitch as Joel Youngblood bats for the 3rd time. Foul right off the end of the bat. Youngblood has twice been robbed of base hits in this series. Andy McGaffigan is soaring in the bullpen for the Giants. And the breaking ball for a ball. Ed Lynch working with a 7-run lead.
And this is the first inning, excuse me, Ralph, that he's given up 2 hits.
And a swing and a miss. And the count now 1 ball and 2 strikes. He's given up 2 hits in the last 2 innings.
That's right, last inning he did.
One of them a bunt base hit, the other a pinch hit double by Kuiper. Youngblood 0 for 4 this year against the Mets. And the sinking fastball in the dirt. 2-2 the count.
Well, we talked about the 3rd time through the lineup as far as Fred Brining was concerned for the Giants, and how the Mets started to jump all over him. And back in the 6th inning, it started the 3rd time through the lineup for the Giants against Ed Lynch.
Youngblood with a 2-2 count and a foul ball. Ball foul straight down. Ed Lynch trying to hold on and get off the snide as far as complete games are concerned.
You would think in going 9 innings against the Braves last year, he would have had an opportunity to get a complete game, but the game continued on and he had no decision.
And he did not finish it, so he cannot get a complete ball game unless you finish the ball game. You can finish the ball game and get a complete game when you lose, but not unless you're the pitcher that made the final pitch for your team. So the count stays at 2-2 in the foul ball. Lynch working to Youngblood. Youngblood with 10 home runs, batting at .283. Most home runs Youngblood ever hit in a single season, 16. He did that with the Mets. And he hits it out to right field. Strawberry will have to catch up to it. He cannot do that. And it is 1 hop off the fence. Coming around from second is Jack Clark, and he scores. Going to third base is Jeff Leonard, and he is now trying to score. And the throw by George Foster, who came in to trail the play, is in time at home plate. And a bad base running mistake by Jeff Leonard as Foster picked that ball up. Man back at third. An outstanding play by Foster.
Just a great play. Strawberry cannot get to the ball as it goes off the wall. He makes a relay throw to Brian Giles, and Giles fires it to third. The ball gets by Hubie Brooks, and there is George right there. Foster picks it up and throws it to Hodges, and they get the runner at the plate, Jeff Leonard, scoring it 9-4 to 5 to 7-2.
And a terrible base running mistake by Jeff Leonard. His team trailing by a score of 7-1, and Leonard trying to score on a short overthrow.
Well, you just can't say enough about the importance of backing up on the play. Foster coming all the way in from left field was very near the third base coaching box.
And Youngblood ending up at second base with a double as we look at Tom O'Malley, and Tom takes his first pitch for ball one. So Ed Lynch, who has never pitched a shutout, cannot do it here in this game today. And there's a fly ball to left field. Foster is there. Glasses down, and he makes the catch, and that retires the side. In the inning, 1-run scoring on 3 hits, 1 man left, and the score at the end of 7. It's the Mets 7 and the Giants 1. And now a word from Dotson. Oh, this is the same pitcher, Randy Martin. He's still in the ballgame. As we go to the top of the 8th inning, Martin came in to work the 7th inning, gave up a double to the leadoff batter, and then walked the next batter, but got out of it when the Giants pulled off an outfield double play. And Hodges then grounded out. Paid crowd here, 23,319. Mets leading 7-1. And for the Mets, it'll be Brian Giles to lead off.
Well, it's too bad Eddie Lynch had to lose the shutout. As well as he has pitched this game, it shows you what happens not only third time through the lineup, but perhaps when a pitcher tires. Eddie has given up 6 hits. 5 of them have come in the last 2 innings. Up until that point, through the first 5, he'd only given up 1 hit.
So Brian Giles stepping up for the 4th time. Giles 1 for 3 today. Mets have out-hit the Giants. Mets have 2 runs on 10 hits. The Giants have 1 run on 6. Randy Martin, the third pitcher used by Frank Robinson. And the fastball a called strike.
Elsewhere in the National League today, Atlanta beat Chicago 9-2. They scored 8 in the last 2 innings, or rather in the 7th and the 8th, 4 apiece to win it. Daly the winner. Forster his 11th save. Trout the loser.
And that's ball 1, 1 ball and 1 strike.
All the other National League action, except for this game, of course, tonight.
One pitch for ball 2.
In the American League, it was Baltimore over Kansas City 6-1. Boston beat Toronto 5-2. And the rest of the American League action will be tonight as well.
2-1 the count to Brian Giles. And now 2-2. Giles got his 2nd hit against the Giants this year when he singled the left field in the 5th. Got his first hit yesterday. It drove in a run and made the score 6-4. Giants leading. Mets then tied it up on a 2-run home run by Foster and won it in the 10th on a base hit by Hodges. So a strikeout. Martin picks up his first, and he'll now pitch to Jose Oquendo.
Last night, it took the Mets 10 innings to score 7 runs. Today, they scored 7 all in 1 inning on 7 hits. The Mets have been getting a lot of hits lately. They've got 10 in the ball game so far.
Oquendo has not had a base hit, but he has a game-winning run batted in. And he did that on a sacrifice squeeze play that put the Mets in front 1-0. That was back in the 5th inning. And there's one slice to right. Clark coming up is there, and he makes the catch. So 2 men away.
Only 3 players have hit 3 home runs in both the American League and the National League. Babe Ruth of the Yankees and the Boston Braves. Johnny Mize of the Yankees and the Cardinals. Claudell Washington of the White Sox and the New York Mets. The answer to the trivia question earlier.
And the 3 home runs that Babe Ruth hit against the Pittsburgh Pirates while playing for the Boston Braves were the last 3 in his major league career.
Is that right?
And he had 1 in the lower deck, 1 on the 2nd deck, and 1 on top of the roof. First time the roof was ever cleared by a home run hitter. Did that back in 1934. 2 balls, no strikes to count. And Ed Lynch bounces it foul. We'd like to remind you to stay tuned for racing from Saratoga right after today's ball game. Randy Martin working his second inning and working to Ed Lynch. Ed has had 2 hits and 3 times up in this game. First time that he's batted against Martin. And a foul ball.
Lynch had only had 6 hits all year coming into the game. So he's increased that by a healthy percentage already today.
2-2. Martin back to Lynch. And strike 3. So Martin strikes out 2, works a 1-2-3 inning. And the side retired. The score at the end of 7 1/2 innings, it's the Mets 7 and the Giants 1. And now a word from Budweiser Light. It's leading by a score of 7-1 as we go to the bottom of the 8th. And here again for the play-by-play, Steve Zabriskie.
Thank you, Ralph. Ed Lynch moves into the 8th inning. It was 1 year ago today that he pitched 9 innings as John Rabb will lead it off for San Francisco in that game in which he did not get a decision against the Atlanta Braves, and his best chance to get a complete game, which he's never had. Big Frank Howard and Bill Mambo Kett discussing things.
One of the few times that Frank Howard and Mambo Kett can enjoy a ball game with a 6-run lead. This is what ball players call a laugher.
That's right. Just a perfect day here in Candlestick Park, and Ed Lynch has pitched pretty near a perfect ball game. Not what you'd call a perfect game in the record book, but a well-pitched ball game from a pitcher's point of view. Made very few mistakes. And John Rabb, who is 0 for 2, here we are the 8th inning, and Rabb's only coming up for the 3rd time, so that shows you how few men have been on base against Eddie. He's given up 6 hits and has not walked a batter. Rabb has flied out and grounded out. 0 for 7 in the series. And he takes a ball high. Rabb hitting .241. Ground ball to third. Hubie Brooks charging and guns him down. 1 away.
Rabb has shown that he is a first ball hitter. And now we're going to have a pinch hitter for the pitcher. And it's going to be Bergman. Dave Bergman.
Bergman was a pinch hitter last night and failed in 2 attempts to lay down a bunt, so Frank Robinson yanked it. Put in Brenly, and Brenly promptly struck out by proxy for Bergman because the strikeout went to Bergman.
So technically Bergman was struck out while not even swinging and sitting on the bench.
That's right. There's Andy McGaffigan. He will be the next Giant pitcher in the 9th inning. So Bergman 0 for 1 in the series, lofts a high drive to deep right field. Strawberry on the warning track, out of here, home run. Bergman's 2nd home run of the year and 10th RBI to make it a 7-2 game.
That is the 9th home run given up by Ed Lynch this year. It's hit off a fastball. It looks for a moment like Darryl Strawberry can make the play. He gets over here, but I believe he lost the ball in the sun. He had no chance to catch it. Right there, it looks like he's looking for it, but it's gone.
Right over the Willie McCovey sign, and Stretch was here today to honor Willie Mays. 7th hit and 2nd run for the Giants. Here we are in the 8th with 1 out, and the leadoff batter, Johnny LeMaster, who is 1 for 3. LeMaster, a bunt single his last time up. Called the ball, and it's 2-0. Bergman now probably back in the good graces of manager Frank Robinson as LeMaster takes a strike. There's Frank. Robbie manages a lot like he played.
With great intensity.
Very intensely.
He is the only man to be the most valuable player in both leagues. And here's Frank Howard, 1 of 9 to hit 30 home runs in each league in one season.
right down there for a strike, and it's 3-2. LeMaster and the crowd don't like the call, but it couldn't have been called anything else from our view. Three-two pitch ripped to left. Foster will not be able to get to it. It falls in for a base hit. Second hit of the inning, a one-out single by LeMaster, and his second hit of the day.
Well, the Giants now in the last 3 innings have picked up 7 base hits, so some stirring in the bullpen for the New York Mets.
Jesse Orozco. There he is. What a job Jess has done. Jesse, the winner last night to push his record to 11-5. And he will warm with 1 out here in the 8th inning. A 7-2 Mets lead, and here is Darrell Evans with 1 out and LeMaster at first. Evans 0 for 3, 1 for 8 in the series, grounded into a double play his last time up. Popped up and drifting out of play behind the Mets dugout for strike 1. Evans now hitting .279, 25 home runs, 63 RBIs.
Darrell Evans, a fellow who learned how to play baseball from his mother. She was an outstanding softball player in Pasadena, California. Even now when he goes into a slump, he calls Mom.
Ground ball down the line. Hernandez goes to second for 1. Back to first to second. 3-6-3 double play that Hernandez has initiated. And after the home run and a 1-out single, Ed Lynch gets out of it on this.
And both of the 3-6-3 double plays, which are beautiful to watch, a good backhand there, were hit into by Darrell Evans. So there it is, and that ends the inning. The Mets have turned 128 DPs.
1 run on 2 hits will go to the 9th with the Mets leading baseball here in Candlestick Park on a windless, relatively cloudless, beautiful afternoon, and a ground crew is out making some repairs on the mound as they did in last night's ball game. McGaffigan will be the new pitcher for the San Francisco Giants. Andy, the 4th pitcher used by manager Frank Robinson, with a record of 2-9 and a 4.75 ERA. His 33rd appearance of the season. He's been used both as a starter and reliever. He started 15 games. He has 1 save. Has pitched 113 2/3 innings, walking 32, striking out 81. He's given up 16 home runs, which is a pretty high ratio. And he will be facing the top of the order for the New York Mets, as someone is shading themselves from the sun a bit.
This has to be one of the best days ever in this ballpark.
The weather here in the Bay Area is usually very, very good. The weather here on Candlestick Point, however, is almost always horrible.
Must have been on a day like this that Horace Stoneham was brought out here to look at this site for the construction of the ballpark.
About 10 o'clock in the morning before the wind came up.
Originally, the Giants played in the old Seals Stadium, which is located near downtown San Francisco. And it was a very good place to play baseball. It had a long left field fence, but the wind blew out. One of the best parts of playing in that ballpark was that a brewery was located behind home plate, and you could smell the beer as it was being wafted over the top of the ballpark.
That was a great place. I went there many times as a kid to see those great Giant teams, late 50s, early 60s. Danny Heap leads it off here in the 9th for the Mets as the Mets lead at 7-2. It'll be Heap, Brooks, and Hernandez to face Andy McGaffigan in his first inning of work. Danny, 0 for 4, has struck out twice, flied out, and grounded out. And that's a ball low. The Mets batted around and then some, sending 11 men to the plate in the 5th inning when they scored 7 runs on 7 hits, and George Foster hit a grand slam home run. 1-1 to Heat.
It was the Mets' biggest inning of the year.
And their biggest since May 16th of last year, when they scored 9 runs in the 6th inning against the Dodgers. right at the second baseman, Youngblood. And Joel throws him out. There's one away.
That reminds me of the time the Mets won a game against the Cubs 19-1. It was in the early days of the Mets. They weren't used to scoring 19 runs in a week. And somebody called up to find out what the score of the game was because he was betting on the most runs in the inning. And the fellow at the station said they scored 19 runs. And then he said, great. And then he thought a moment and he said, did they win?
It wasn't too sure. Ground ball foul from Hubie Brooks for strike one. No faith at all. No confidence.
Hubie's had a tough time so far in this series. He's had one hit in 9 times up.
That was a single to left back in the 5th inning. He scored ahead of Foster's grand slam, and it's 1-1. Too low, 1 ball, 2 balls, and 1 strike. Hubie came into the game hitting only 143 against San Francisco pitching, as you look at Andy McGaffigan. Reaches out and slaps one, but LeMaster will glove it for the 2nd out of the 9th. LeMaster, who is errorless in his last 22 games and has made just 1 error in the last 31 contests. And here is Keith Hernandez. Hernandez 2 for 3 plus a walk. Singled and scored in the 5th and doubled in the 7th.
Keith 4 for 7 in the 2 games of this series.
And Keith has raised his average to 285 after bottoming out around 280 all the way back for ball 1.
Keith playing in his hometown. He's a San Franciscoite.
Has a few passes on the pass list over the weekend. I shouldn't talk, though. I've got some family here today myself. 2 balls and no strikes. 2 out, nobody on. 9th inning with the Mets leading 7-2. 3-0 now. Keith walked once already this afternoon, and he's up among the league leaders in walks. He has 66. Mike Schmidt the most with 94. Strike called, 3-1. Three and 2, fastball at the knees.
Hernandez walked in the 3-2 pitch back in the 1st inning. He's a very selective hitter. That last pitch too tough to hit.
Fouls this one off. And that's what you have to do with 2 strikes when you get a pitch you can't handle. The bad hitters put it in play. The good hitters foul it off and try to keep hanging in there to get something they can handle.
That pitch right there about the same as a 3-1 pitch, but this time he had to swing at it.
In the dirt, ball 4. Hernandez walks for the 67th time this year and the 2nd time in the ball game. A 2-out base runner for George Foster, who walked his last time up, but the time before that put one well over the 365 sign in left center field for a grand slam. His 11th career and 21st home run of the year. George now has 67 RBIs. Inside, ball 1. The Mets have scored 7 runs. They all came in the 5th inning on 10 hits, no errors. The Giants 2 runs on 8 hits and 1 error. Broken bat shot to right, but gloved by Darrell Evans, the first baseman, who made a nice backhanded stab of the soft liner for the 3rd out here in the 9th.
So a base runner left, and we will go to the bottom of the 9th inning with Clark, Leonard, and Davis due up for the Giants, and the Mets leading 7-2. Now, a word from Manufacturers Hanover. Ralph, we go to the bottom of the 9th inning. Jack Clark leads it off for the Giants with the Mets leading 7-2. And Ed Lynch going after his first career complete game in the major leagues with a nice 5-run lead in the bottom of the 9th inning. Clark is 2 for 3. He was 2 for 3 last night, so he's 4 for 6 in the series with 2 singles and a run scored today. And a nice pitch on the outside corner, strike 1. Even with Clark's long arms, he had trouble reaching that ball.
How many pitches has he got?
He can't shake off too many more.
I'll hold it now.
Let's do it again, he says. Give me that sequence again. We'll take that one. That's kind of funny. You know, you pitch a whole game, you're in the 9th inning, and you can't get together with the catcher on the signs.
That does show one thing. It shows he wants to pitch his game, not the catcher's game.
Popped up and playable in the infield. Hernandez calling for it, shading his eyes, and squeezes it. 1 out.
So Getty would like to congratulate Ed Lynch, the Getty star of the game. Ed performed miles ahead of himself in today's game. We're pleased to present him with Getty gift certificates. Take your cap off to Ed and also to Getty.
Well, here's Jeff Leonard. Leonard is 1 for 3. Single to center back in the 7th inning, and then was thrown out at the plate in an unusual play, 9-4 to 5 to 7 to 2, when George Foster made an outstanding play backing up third base to throw him out at home.
I would like to remind you to stay tuned for Racing from Saratoga right after this game.
Ground ball foul outside of third, strike 1.
And we'd also like to remind you to stay tuned to WRTV for our next game coming your way at 4 o'clock New York time when the Mets take on the Giants. It'll be Mike Torres against Hamaker, who has won 10 and lost 5. Hamaker coming off the disabled list.
And a strike called. It's 0-2 now. Ed Lynch continues to show that pinpoint control. He has not walked a batter. He struck out only 2 and allowed 2 runs on 8 hits. Fly ball right field. Strawberry coming in now. It slices away from him and falls foul. That ball really slicing. But fortunately for the Mets, it fell foul, or no one could have gotten to it.
Right off the end of the bat. It hits right on the very end. It's spinning, and the wind also helping a bit as it is turned into foul territory.
So the count holds at 0-2 on Leonard. Ed Lynch has now pitched, if he finishes this ball game and pitches 9 complete, 145 in the 3rd innings. He's walked only 33. Still 0-2. Chili Davis, the on-deck hitter. Jeff Leonard is 2 for 8 in the series with a hit last night. As Ed goes after his first career complete game. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
He was disappointed when he was taken out of 2 games that he could have really had a chance at a complete game.
Ground ball to third. Hubie Brooks waits for it, gets a good hop, and fires. 2 away.
So Ed is where he has never been before. 1 out away from a complete game.
Umpire at home plate, Ed Montague, fired the ball out to Ed Lynch. And Eddie got a chuckle out of it. He wasn't expecting it to come quite that swiftly. Here's Chili Davis now. The last hope for the Giants with 2 out and nobody on. And Ed Lynch in his 50th career start. A chance to pick up his first complete game, and this could do it. It does, as Brian Giles picks that ball right off the top of the ground before it can hit. A line drive ends it. And Ed Lynch goes the distance, giving up 2 runs on 8 hits, striking out 2 and walking none
to push his record to 9-7, and he continues to be the most consistent starting pitcher for the New York Mets as he gives the bullpen a day off. And the Mets have taken the first 2 of this 3-game series in San Francisco. They win it this afternoon, 7-2. Ralph and I will be back with a wrap-up of today's game in just a minute, so stay with us. But now, here's a word from Mets just jumped all over him, and that was the name of the game, the 5th inning, and another fine performance by Ed Lynch.
And to recap a part of that 5th inning, a double by Ron Hodges to start it off, a single by Giles, and then a sacrifice that scored a run. The game-winning run batted in was to Jose Oquendo, who had that squeeze bunt. Lynch helped his own cause with a base hit, and then later on the grand slam home run. So the winning pitcher, Lynch, 9-7. The loser, Briding, his record 7-10. The line score of the ball game, the Mets 7 runs, 10 hits, and no errors. And for the San Francisco Giants, 2 runs, 8 hits, and 1 error. Paid crowd of 23,319. Once again, the final score: the Giants 7 and the Mets 7 and the Giants 2. The participating advertisers in New York Mets baseball have been Budweiser Light. The best never comes easy. That's why there's nothing else like it. Manufacturers hand over trust. Our facts make your money worth more. Datsun Nissan, builders of high mileage, high quality cars and trucks.